I'm going to cover the brushes I use to create such flawless line art, as well as the settings I use on Ibispaint X. And if you're thinking you won't be able to create good line art just because of your skill, this tutorial is good for you as well, because any artist at any artistic level can follow this tutorial as well and have a similar result. So without further ado, I will be going over everything, and let's go. So right now I'm going to be covering how I do line art on the eyes, hair, clothing, and face areas. But before we go ahead and discuss those, I will be showing you guys the brushes I use. So it's this one right here. It is called the Menno's Sketching and Line Art Brush, and basically you can use it as line art and sketching. And out of the many line art brushes I've used, I can say that this one is the best one. So I suggested and I decided to use it for the line art tutorial. So first we are going to begin with eyes. This part of your line art should take relatively short compared to the rest of it, since there's only 2 eyes and they shouldn't be that big on the face. So what you're going to do is get your line art brush, and if you're like me who likes to color the eyelashes, make sure to outline it like so on size 1.8. Make sure there are no more open spots like how I'm doing right now. I'm closing the spots that could have been opened, because doing this will improve your line art skills. As seen by what I'm doing now, I am adding line weight to the eyelash, which makes your line art look way more interesting, and I will be talking about line weight later, so make sure to add that to your line art, as it adds way more variation to your line art. And this is something that when I started doing my line art became way better. Make sure that when doing line art in general to be confident in your strokes. Instead of drawing just one line being created from multiple smaller lines, just draw one line. Drawing one line constructed from multiple creates hairy or furry line art, which is not the texture we are going for right now, especially when not drawing fur. Always try to remember this when doing your line art, and there are many exercises you can do that help you create more confident strokes. And right now I am drawing the line art for the iris, so normally when I draw the line art for the iris, I reduce the brush size from 1.8 as it originally was to 1.5, and the reason I do this is because this also adds line variation. And the line art for the first eye is finished. If this happened to be too quick for you, feel free to always rewind it. When I'm done the line arts I like to go back and add some bolder lines just for more variation. And we are on to the next eye. Use everything I talked to you about when trying to do the line art in this eye, and please remember to try to be confident in your strokes. So eyes are explained. Now here's how to draw line art for the skin. When doing line art on the skin, I do it on size 1.8. Skin isn't a dense or thick material, so the line art shouldn't be that thick. Do not feel afraid to try with your line art multiple times. If you don't like a stroke you drew, or if the stroke just doesn't match up with your drawing, you can always undo or erase and try again. Don't force yourself to go with a stroke you won't like. Something I suggest you do to make the line art process just overall easier is to constantly make your sketch layer not visible. When doing this, you can add touch-ups to your line art easier without your sketch being in the way. And similar to what I'm doing now, at all the corners where the lines meet, I fill in the corners like so. It really gives off an interesting look to it, which is definitely something to strive for. One of my absolute favorite things to do in drawing line art for the face is to make it a bit bolder around the chin and erase some of the line art in between the cheek and the chin to make it skinnier, and it just ends up always looking really good. Whenever I draw line art for the neck, I make it thicker in areas where both the line art from the face and the line art for the neck meet, similar to what I was talking about earlier. If you're feeling like your line art needs a bit more to it, feel free to always touch it up. Right now, I felt like my line art could use a bit around the jaw area, so I decided to make it thinner. 2 down and 2 to go. So up next is hair. Before I make the line art of it though, I create a new layer. And I do this because it's easier if I want to erase something from a specific line art layer. I then set the size of the brush to 1.7 and then I start drawing the line art for the hair. When doing the hair, I draw it like I normally would, hide the sketch layer, and add refinements in the hair like making it bolder where the lines meet. The eyes are a big plus to my drawings, so a little something I do is that if the hair is covering a bit of the eye, I will erase that part of the hair. So the final thing I'm adding the line art for is the clothing. When making line art for the clothes, I add a new layer and increase the brush size to 1.8 since the material for the hoodie the character is wearing would genuinely be heavier. A little bonus I do to make the liner even better is by adding a border around the drawing. The way I do this is by making a new layer, stay on size 1.7 for the brush, but on the silhouette of the character I make it bolder. See how much better it looks when I add the border versus when it isn't there? So this is how the completed line art looks. Make sure to comment on what video you want next, and if you want tips on how to do better line art or just line art in general, I could always make a video about that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Maybe.